What is the single best all-around bear gun you can own? Well, friends, I'm going to mount an argument that this right here is it. This is Ruger's M77 Hawkeye guide gun. And there are a lot of different reasons that I think this is the single best option for all purpose, all coverage, everything. Whether you're defending camp, you're fishing with this thing, in a salmon stream that big bears like to fish as well, right? You've got this slung on your back. Maybe you're hunting over bait for a big black bear in Canada or elsewhere. Maybe you're spot and stalk hunting in Montana or Idaho, something like that. This rifle can do it all. First and foremost, at its foundation, a controlled feed action. I'm going to pop this scope off. This is one of the beautiful reasons this rifle is so cool. Controlled feed action with a Mauser type claw extractor on that bolt, right? That means from the second that you start running that bolt forward and it engages the rim of a fresh cartridge inside, it maintains a grasp on that cartridge through the firing process as it pulls it out until it throws it out the ejection port. It controls that cartridge. Now, this type of action isn't necessarily more reliable than a push feed type, like so many precision rifles are built with. What a controlled feed action does is minimize the human errors. So something that a lot of guys will commonly do when they're reloading in a hurry is they'll run that bolt and it feels funny, and so they retract it again and they go to run it forward, and they've just fed a first and then started a second up into that chamber. The two of them wedge and you have yourself a jam. That's a bad deal when you've got bear trouble, for example, or even just a big bull elk departing rapidly, right? So controlled feed actions have their own set of characteristics, right? They're a little heavier than most push feed actions in general. They are a little harder to make super duper accurate. They can be, right? But there are more moving parts and heavier moving parts in the bolt shroud and so forth. So a push feed type bolt is easier to tune for accuracy. There's various characteristics, but the one that guys who tangle with dangerous game on a regular basis come back to in Africa and in Alaska and other places like that is the fact that a controlled feed action tends to be the most reliable combination of mechanical device and human operator. Not to get off on a tangent on that, but anyway, this is a good Mauser-based controlled feed action. The safety is a 3-position wing type. When it's all the way to the back, it locks the bolt in place. I really like that. When it's in the mid position, you can still run the bolt and it's really quick, lays right under your thumb there. So if you need to snap that rifle up, quickly thumb the safety off for an emergency shot, you can do that. Or if you're trailing down, wounded game or whatnot. Some reasons that I really like this rifle for an all-purpose gun, and it's worth noting that although it's available in different cartridges for hunting bears around the world in every condition, 375 Ruger would be my choice. Okay, if you can get it in 30-06, 300 Win Mag, 338 Win Mag, 375 Ruger. I'm not sure if you can get it in 416 Ruger or not, but that cartridge, the 375 Ruger, would be my choice because with a good muzzle brake on it, right? It's not a savage recoiler, but it's powerful enough for the biggest coastal brown bear in the world, and even for use as a stopping cartridge, right? So this is not when you're just trying to kill them, but you're trying to stop one that's charging. Really, really good cartridge, inherently accurate, and slightly more powerful, 3 to 5% more powerful than that legendary classic 375 H&H, Holland and Holland, right? This is a standard length action version. The Holland and Holland requires a longer action, which is another reason this one is so good. It fits into a nice, slender, compact, responsive rifle. Barrels are only 20 inches. This makes them easy to handle in a hurry when you're wading through alder brush in Alaska or maneuvering in a blind over bait somewhere in Idaho or wherever, right? Comes with a muzzle brake, also a thread protector for those of you that don't like the added noise of the muzzle brake. Really good barrel band front sight with an interchangeable front sight blade in that. Big white bead on it for quick use in thick cover on dark colored animals. Express type rear sight with a shallow V notch. That makes it really easy to aim in a hurry. That combination of the glowing white bead up front and that shallow V notch, that's something pioneered by African dangerous game hunters for use on everything from Cape buffalo to elephant. Works really well for fast shooting when you're in stressful situations. The stock on this rifle is laminated wood. Now that, my friends, believe it or not, is probably the strongest material there is. Fiberglass is right there with it, but wood, laminated wood, is stable in various temperatures and moisture conditions. It won't warp like a traditional just straight walnut stock or whatever will. Extremely, extremely strong. That lamination gives it strength like bow limbs, like bow hunter bow, archery, so that it's just is not what's the word I'm looking for? It's not brittle. That stock will handle a ton of punishment. As it's laminated like that, those wood layers are kind of impregnated with epoxy, and then it's finished with a real durable, probably urethane or epoxy type finish on it. Pretty hard to scratch that stock, and if you do, doesn't matter, who cares, right? I really like that stock. It's a bit heavy, which in this case is good. It helps tame the recoil of that big cartridge, helps you get on and come to a steady aim very quickly. A really light rifle, you'll come up and you tend to wobble around just a little bit, right? A heavier rifle settles. You aim, you're there, you fire. And then, big recoil, work that bolt hard and fast, but smooth and sure, and then fire again. Another cool thing, this rifle comes with spacers that you can use to extend the length of pull, or you can take them out and make it shorter. That's really crucial for small framed hunters, especially if you're wearing a lot of different layers of clothing. Say, snowshoeing, working a trap line in Alaska in the dead of winter. This rifle is short enough, light enough, compact enough that you can put a sling on it and just throw it on your back and fly fish all day long. It's light enough and handy enough, and the balance point is right there where it's supposed to be, that as a brown bear guide, or a Cape buffalo guide for that matter, but as a bear guide, you can carry this rifle day in and day out through alders, swamps, wherever you need to go. It's going to be with you because it's not a pain to carry, right? And then when the time comes to get into action, you can do so very, very quickly. Now, earlier I took this scope off to talk about the action, but it's worth noting these are Alaska Arms quick detach rings. This is actually kind of a big scope for this rifle. I like a little bit smaller scope with a smaller ocular housing here in like a 1 to 4, 1 to 5, 1.5 to 5. Leupold makes a bunch of really nice ones with a tiny point of light. They're illuminated reticles, but it's just a red point of light in the center of your crosshairs. Super nice when you're shooting a dark colored bear in low light in shadowed thickets or woods. Super crucial when it comes to finding your crosshairs in a hurry when seconds matter, right? But the key is, with these integral bases incorporated into the action of these Rugers, you can just use a lever type scope ring to mount your scope. With that scope on, any of these rifles should produce 1.5 groups at 100 yards. That's 6-inch groups at 400 yards. That's all you need to hunt bears, right? With tuned hand loads, you might get even better than that. It would not surprise me a bit if a guy were to glass bed one of these, free float the fore end, do a little bit of a trigger job, and get sub-MOA accuracy, like pretty predictably. I know some of these rifles, it's not uncommon for these to shoot sub-MOA, just as is right out of the box. They're a pretty darned useful bear gun. Now, what about the guy that's just walking trails with his family, and doesn't really want to carry a big rifle? Well, this isn't perfect for that. It's one of those things, if you're trying to find one bear gun to do everything, you're going to have some compromises, right? This is not as easy to carry as a 10 millimeter semi-auto or a 44 Magnum revolver. However, when it comes time to actually debate with that bear that's trying to catch one of your kids, this rifle will have a ton more authority than any handgun on earth. It will be easier for you to aim and shoot effectively as well. Much easier. So, yeah, I don't mind packing a rifle weight. Get a good sling, one with a rubberized interior, maybe just a little bit of flex. Learn to sling that sucker on your back and just go. They're not that heavy, right? Price on these, I think suggested retail is $1,500 or $1,600, but those suggested retail prices tend to be way inflated. This rifle should retail somewhere, on the gun store shelves between $1,200 and $1,300, maybe $1,400. Real world price. Again, you can get them in several different cartridges. I think this would make a fantastic little whitetail woods gun or big woods elk rifle in 30-06. 338 Win Mag is easier to shoot than the 375 Ruger just because it's a little lighter recoiling cartridge, and it would be a really good option for that all-purpose bear gun around the world as well. That said, just because the 375 Ruger, this cartridge right here, has such a great reputation as a stopping cartridge when things really go south and is so darn effective on clobbering big coastal brown bears, that's still my personal pick, right? It's there's another nice thing about that cartridge in this rifle setup for a guide. Maybe that's, after all, it's named Ruger's M77 guide rifle, right? If you had a client wound a brown bear or an Arctic grizzly, right, interior bear, and that bear is leaving, and you catch a glimpse of him going up a far ridge, maybe 350, 375 yards away, and about to top over and disappear into another canyon where he's going to be much, much harder to find, this cartridge, 375 Ruger, has enough reach that you can kind of just hold on fur on the top of his back and send a bullet. And you're probably going to take him tail to tea kettle through all the important stuff. And it'll still have the authority it needs to slow down and kill that bear quickly and effectively and bring a bad situation to best case close, right? The other scenario, of course, where things can go south in a real hurry is if you have to wade into an alder thicket, brush patch of some sort, and pull a bear out, a wounded bear out. He's not trying to get away. Maybe he's laying there waiting for you. In that case, pull that scope off, or if you like that pinpoint of red dot light in there, leave it on, right? But you want a 1 power on the bottom end for that. And go in confident that this rifle is fast and hard hitting up close. And when you need to work that action, you fire, work the action firmly, it will run reliably and it will help you operate it reliably. And folks, those are just a bunch of reasons that I believe this is the single best all-purpose around the world bear hunting, bear stopping, bear protection gun that there is. I'm Joseph Von Benedict, and I'll see you in the backcountry.